Here we go. What's happening, everybody? We are live. This is the first time I think we've done this, and it seemed like a pretty good day for it. Happened in the middle of the day instead of the middle of the night. What's up? What's up? Dan Besbris here, our founder at Hoopball, the great Aaron Bruski. Brew, you got stuff going on this afternoon? You all right over there?
Yeah, I'm good. How's everybody else going? No, the funny part is I at some point might have like family just like barge in here because
well, that's
this is all happening so fast. I told them, I said, hey, after they gave me the mole chicken sandwich,
that's nice of them.
It's a torta, but we eat well over here, and so we'll see. They might just come, barreling in, and we'll deal with that. But yeah, what a crazy day.
Crazy day indeed. James Harden has been traded. It is official. He is a member of the Brooklyn Nets. We're here to break this down from a fantasy standpoint. We'll probably loop back around to some of the reality stuff towards the end because you guys are watching us for the fantasy stuff. So that's what we'll dive into immediately. And let's start with the biggest name, James Harden. He goes from a place where he had been the I don't want to say the only offensive option because Russell Westbrook is a high usage guy, but he'd been largely unchallenged in Houston for 8 years now? And he joins the team with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. I don't know the exact number here, but I can't imagine this is a good thing for Harden's fantasy value. The question, Brew, is how much does it change?
Well, I need to see the next because this is all very, in the NBA, things pretty ways, and this most recent absence with Kyrie, was he on board with the idea of a high?
It's cutting in and out. It's cutting in and out just a little bit on your end, Brew. I don't want to lose anything of what you're saying. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine. Let me diagnose on this end.
Diagnosing. What is the short version? Because we caught some bits and pieces there. Harden taking. Does this knock him out of the first round? Does it knock him partway down the first round, you think? Is this big, little, and then... go ahead.
Yeah, it comes down to Kyrie. I mean, because played with each other in the past. Harden play with Russell Westbrook, a huge usage guy, and survive and be good and be great even. So I think Kyrie is the wild card. If Kyrie comes in and demands to have his full usage, three of those guys split all of that use, maybe he drops toward the bottom of the first round is my first instinct with this. So what do you think from a
buy? And I'm jumping in here because I wanted, no one's going to drop James Harden, but what about from a buy and sell standpoint? Is there anything you could do as a fantasy user? Do you think this is a good time to buy? Do you think people are over concerned about him right now?
Yeah, I think there is concern about Harden in the marketplace. I mean, anybody who added him during the draft has, dealt with substandard Harden, output, absences. They're scared for our guy. I think you could probably look at second rounders. Calling a buy word. Who knows? You could maybe get a tiny bit more aggressive than that. I mean, valuations vary. In the league, there's guys that might think he might be a fifth rounder.
Brew, can you try turning your camera off just for a second to see if that pulls the internet back up to speed?
Un momento, por favor.
Because you've gone pixelated. I know everybody wants to see your face, but I think they want to make sure they hear the fantasy ramifications. Arguably more?
No, just the face, Dan.
Just the face. All right, what about the fringe? Let's go to the guys on the periphery. That's not right. Maybe the right way to phrase it. But the guys that were moved in this deal that that either were or were not on fantasy teams. I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase it. Let me just quickly break down everything that's going on in this trade, and then we can get into some of the pieces. Obviously, James Harden, he is the premier prize in this trade and series of trades that happened today. But also, first of all, James Harden, Brooklyn Net now. The Nets sent away multiple players. Jared Allen and Taurean Prince are now members of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Rodions Kurucs is now on the Rockets. Karis LeVert is, at the end of all of this, on the Pacers because they sent Victor Oladipo to the Rockets. So let me just put all that into team by team. The Nets get James Harden. The Pacers get Karis LeVert. The Cavaliers now have Jared Allen and Taurean Prince, and the Rockets now have Victor Oladipo, Dante Exum, Rodions Kurucs, and 4 picks and 4 draft swaps. So maybe working my way down the list of guys that are big names isn't the best way to do it, because James Harden, it's really just about valuation, whether or not you think you can get him at a cheaper price. What about some of the immediate stuff you should be doing at your waiver wire? Because that's more time sensitive. What do you think about DeAndre Jordan? What do you think about Taurean Prince? What do you think? Those are probably the guys that jump out to me, at least as guys whose value changes substantially here. What are you doing with some of those pieces?
Ooh, I'm going team by team.
Yeah, we're losing you too often here. I gotta. Was it better? Could you hear me okay when your video was off?
I'm gonna turn it off right now.
Yeah, we're gonna go. Let's go audio only to make sure we can hear you. Check 1 2. Are you good over there?
I got mad bandwidth over here. I think it's the application, dog.
You think it's StreamYard?
I mean, I just ran tests and I've got through the roof. So I don't know what to make of that. The question, and has it improved without the video?
Not a great deal. So I don't know if maybe it's a processor. Is the computer getting overloaded?
I'll look at that right now.
I want to get you in. I would blame my own machine, except I know I did a StreamYard yesterday and everything was okay. So here, what I'll just offer my thoughts on those guys while we're running a test, and then while you are, I'm going to see if there's anything we can do on our end as well to make sure this thing doesn't crump out around us here. With the Nets, they traded away their other center. I know they have Nick Claxton over there, but this feels like, once again, it sort of thrusts DeAndre Jordan back into the forefront. And I don't know how you don't at least pick him up and see what happens, because the other option now is someone who's not proven the way that Jared Allen was. I have to assume for the Cavaliers that they wanted the guys they traded in or acquired in this trade, namely Jared Allen, even though they have centers coming out of their ears in Cleveland: Andre Drummond, JaVale McGee, Kevin Love, Larry Nance Jr., and now Jared Allen. They have 5 centers on that team. As far as the wing goes, it's largely Cedi Osman, and then I think Kevin Porter Jr. is hurt right now. So Taurean Prince could actually see a little bump in playing time. Brew, we're going to check in with your internet/computer processor speed right now and see if you're back up and running. And while you're doing that, I'm actually going to slide off camera to the side for a second to see if there's anything I can do on this end as well.
I just did another test and it's pretty good. So I don't know if you can hear me now. I guess it's just me. So I guess the Taurean Prince stuff, I'm a little hesitant on, because he's really taken a step back in his game. We saw him at full usage last year and it was good. It was good for kind of where you had him. And, but at the same time, there's been so much erosion to his efficiency. He's become just sort of a spot up shooter. So I don't know that I'm, breaking the bank to go get a Taurean Prince. And then how does he fit in within the current rotation? I mean, those guys aren't great, but it's not like they're so much worse than he is that they're going to, just be displaced right off the bat. So I have questions about that. Jared Allen, obviously, this he's a good basketball player. So he's going to do his thing in his 23 minutes, no matter what, wherever he is. The question is can he actually have that upside piece that's the reason that you drafted him? And Andre Drummond's just sort of hanging around. And I think there's a lot of shoes left to drop on all of these deals. So, I mean, literally in Sacramento, I don't know what's happened right now, but you got Buddy Hield tweeting the weird face, the little the toothy grin face where people are like, I don't know what's going on. He's tweeting that stuff. He's been on the trade block forever. Does he become the next piece or a next shoe to drop? But Andre Drummond's another guy who's just a completely obvious pick, especially if you're bringing in Jared Allen. You're going to want Andre Drummond pretty much gone. You're going to want to liquidate that value and get something good. And does that happen now, or do they decide to roll with both guys and continue to establish his trade value? All that stuff is really fascinating. I'm personally going to be going team by team and evaluating kind of where I want to make my moves. Not quite sure if Dano you're back yet or not, but
yeah, I think we're good now. It sounds like things are ironed out. I call this the side effect of trying to get going really fast after something big happens. We didn't have all of the technical pieces put together, but I think we're rolling now. I think we're good.
Yeah, everybody can see me.
Okay, so I had walked away for a second. I had a speaker on, but I didn't catch the whole thing. Who is your favorite immediate ad? Because that's what everybody wants.
Favorite immediate ad? I actually don't have one. I'm not gonna lie. This all hit. I ate my mole sandwich, and now we're looking at it right now live. I was saying while you were gone, I'm not as high on Torian Prince. I just don't think he displaces people in Cleveland. You know, he's not so much better than like Chetty Osman, who's really not good.
No, not good.
but the poor guy's trying. But you got Okoro there. You got both of the guards there. You know, he's gonna get minutes there, depending on how all this stuff shakes out. You know, I'll tell you what, Dan, if you really want a quick answer, I'll probably speed through all of these teams.
Yeah, give me the speed through, and then whatever. We'll probably have to reboot that here in 5 minutes as people come on and go, because there's it's picking up. We're snowballing a tiny bit here.
Oh, we're snowballing the audio, or
the audience actually is picking up at a pretty good clip. So hello everybody, welcome in.
And actually, here's some interesting news that's just hitting. Is there's a Jason Dumas, which reminds me of that
old commercial.
Yeah, of course it does. The name's Dumas. There's some great commercials from the late 90s, early 2000s that you kids probably missed out on. But they're saying that the deal. Let me just see who Dumas is here. I don't know.
Now you got to know.
It's a local news guy, so who knows? And shout out to the local news guys that actually do a really good job with reporting. There's just a lot that's not, you know, there's left to be desired in some of the local TV news reporting. But this sort of is in line with what I was wondering is, so why would Kyrie be so brazen? And I know the universe of reasons could be just huge, right? That to be so brazen to just piss everybody in his team off and go out for personal reasons and sort of leave it lingering that it could be due to social justice. It could be due to this. And then he's out and he gets caught with his sister at their get together. And so it's just like, what is going on there? And to me, if you're a big name player and you had big name plans and you planned this out for a couple years in advance and you land in Brooklyn and then now all of a sudden they want to trade for James Harden, that's probably something that would piss you off. And this report here says Brooklyn Nets were always interested in acquiring Harden, but the deal became imperative in light of the situation with Kyrie Irving. Kyrie is willing to sit out the year if need be, those close to him are saying. So let's wait for Woj and Shams, to weigh in on this stuff. But it just lines up. And I kind of wonder what that next shoe to drop will be. Because if they don't move, or if Kyrie is stuck, if these three dudes are stuck together, that's A, hilarious, but B, it's going to impact everybody downstream. You're going to look at the Nets and say, there's not really anybody here that jumps out at me. And those three are going to hog all the usage, and you might get some players on the periphery. I don't know, like Bruce Brown, Landry Shamet hasn't been good, and it's probably trade rumor related. Joe Harris, probably is the only other one that survives. So I think as far as the Nets go, I don't think I'm picking anybody from the Nets. And I'll look over at Cleveland and I'll try to figure that out right now.
So you don't think there are enough rebounds for DeAndre Jordan to make an impact that way?
He's had a chance to show what he can do. I even bought in on him in one level or in one high stakes league thinking, you know what? He's going to make his mark early. He's going to be decent in 20 minutes per game. And it just really hasn't happened. I just think he's washed, and I think they know that, which is also an interesting development in that you're going to get rid of Jared Allen, knowing that DeAndre Jordan is washed. It all reeks of, when a player like James Harden is available, and people think of him in terms of MVP and Hall of Fame and, this high level player. They just make moves, and then they kind of figure out, they go, hey, I could probably get a center later. That might be what they're thinking is we'll fortify our team with another center that's available down the road. And there are a lot of fine centers that are probably available that aren't getting playing time right now that are better than DeAndre Jordan. Of course, he's friends with KD and he's friends with Kyrie.
Yeah,
So,
that's why we had talked before the season. We thought they'll do something dumb here and play him 26, 27 minutes for the first 2 months before they realize he's not the guy.
I don't think his body can handle it. I'll just be straight with you. I don't think if he wanted to, he could play 27 minutes per game.
Not hard.
No, not hard. And I think he would get so exposed and probably get into foul trouble and so on and so on. I mean, yeah, you want to pick up DeAndre Jordan as a 23-minute per game guy that's going to get you late round value and fit into your punt build, but it's not like he's shooting a ton of free throws anymore. It's the valuation is what it is. So I'm not too excited about anybody over there.
Yeah, I feel like Joe Harris is getting really screwed in all of this among the remaining guys, isn't he? If Kyrie plays, I guess.
What's funny about Harris, though, is because he goes to the right spot on the court pretty much all the time, he will probably find a way to maintain his value, in line with what everybody expected going into this season, where he was just going to be a catch and shoot guy, or he's going to get a lot of single coverage because the entire defense is tilted to the other guys, and his efficiency would go way up. I think there's probably not a real change there for him.
Well, certainly. So maybe does that also come down to the Kyrie thing? Because if all three of them are playing, I can't imagine anyone else gets more than like 6 shots a game. But if Kyrie's really sitting long term, I saw that tweet that you were talking about. Now that one's starting to get cycled into the timeline that he's willing to sit out the season. We still don't actually know why. They said that he wasn't consulted enough on Steve Nash. That was one of the rumors, but I don't know. It's probably not really worth our time to speculate on that. There's a pretty abrupt swing here that now all of a sudden they're not a KD Kyrie team. They're a KD Harden team, and we don't know if Kyrie's coming back. Okay, fine. That's Brooklyn. What about Indiana? Seems like nothing changes. Indiana's an easy one, right?
Yeah, because
LeVert in.
LeVert actually, he represents an upgrade on Victor Oladipo for that team. He's going to fill that secondary ball handling need. They really needed somebody who could get into the paint and penetrate. It was just watching a lot of Indy the last couple games. It became obvious to me that Malcolm Brogdon, he hasn't like lost a step or anything, but just his style of play, he's not able to beat the quicker guards in the league. And you're seeing the Victor Oladipo, while he can, he's not doing it consistently enough. And so I think this actually helps their overall team because LeVert will be just sort of an all-purpose playmaker, perhaps in a second unit role. We'll see how that all works out. They do have space for his usage. So I think this is a good thing for him. He gets out of the chaos of Brooklyn where it's all, yo-yoing around every single day. So that part is good. Did they receive anybody else in this trade? I don't think so.
No, they're a relatively easy one. That was a kind of a one in, one out. Depot out, LeVert in, cool.
I think it's good for them.
I agree.
Congratulations, Indy. Golf clap.
Indy's, I tell you what, man, Indy has quietly made some really good trades.
I wish that Sabonis looked a little bit better these last 2 games, because then I would predict bigger things for him. He's put up a lot of big numbers, but I need to see some sharper play out of him to see if those guys could actually crack the top of the East.
How about Miles Turner this year, though?
It was fun because the block numbers are so outstanding that it's like crazy. Did he lose like 30 pounds and get go gadget legs? Like what happened here?
He looks quicker. He looks quicker. I think maybe he was playing a bit hurt last year, and it also seems like they're allowing him to do some things on offense that's kind of waking him up.
Come back to a little bit of the guards not being able to hold down the perimeter. Like I watched them go at
good.
Yeah, which is great for fantasy value. And that's one of those really tough things to predict. Like you can go into a season and you can say, yeah, those guys suck, right? And that's going to lead to a lot of block chances, but it doesn't always work out that way. And but I don't know that I'm sold that Miles Turner has made a big leap as a player, but man, teams are going at him. And it's almost like I have this one theory, just indulge me here, is maybe they think he's a mark now, whereas in the past they avoided him. Because I just watched so many stupid shots. Like you're going at him, and it's like, yeah, that's going to be a block. Yeah, that's going to be a block. Yeah, it's going to be a block. So I don't know if teams are challenging more or what, but his block totals are outstanding, and his fantasy value is off the chain. So congrats to him.
Yeah, which I guess doesn't have anything to do with our trade today, but whatever. That's we're going places. Okay, so you don't like anyone in Brooklyn. Nothing big changes in Indiana. Cleveland, let's cycle back through Cleveland again. They have 5 centers now and Taurean Prince. You don't like Taurean Prince's game anymore because his field goal percent has been kind of garbage. At least they're not super log jammed on the wing. They're semi log jammed on the wing. Do they find a place for him to play, or was this trade for Cleveland more about Jared Allen?
I think it's more about Jared Allen, and we'll learn more about the motivations behind it all and kind of how those pieces came together. Definitely more about Jared Allen. With Taurean, we've won on Taurean so much. I feel bad bagging on him, right? But his approach to the game has gotten so lackadaisical. And who knows? Maybe last year you couldn't really excuse it because he was getting so much run. But he's not doing anything other than shooting threes, and the defensive stuff. You just see him with a lack of motor. And I wonder if that's going to end up, resulting in his sort of decline throughout the coming years, where he fits in with this team. I mean, you got to really look at Kevin Porter Jr. and ask, right, is he getting on the floor this year? And it kind of feels like, whatever penalty they're giving him internally and whatever help they're getting him and all of that, like you don't see them shutting the door on it. So I would think like within like a month, if I had to just throw a dart, he comes back. So then you're looking at that's going to eat into Taurean Prince's time there. Beyond that, Kevin Love coming back would be another thing, because the Cavs are more than happy to throw like JaVale at point guard and, at power forward. And
they have gone 3 center lineups. It's not infrequent.
I forget the lineup they had the other day. It was just hilarious. It was like Dotson at point guard, and I forget, it was Osman at shooting guard, and then the 3 bigs across the top. It was outstanding. And Memphis didn't know what to do with it. It was great. The commentator, the name's escaping me, Devin, Stanford point guard, Brevin Knight was just going beside himself. Like, why aren't you guys pressuring him in the backcourt? Like, they can't dribble. Like, you gotta let him let JaVale walk up the court and like execute the offense. It was amazing. So don't know what's going on in Memphis, but yeah, Cleveland, I'm not that excited about, but I'm not excited, but I'm happy to scroll down the screen and look at Houston.
Okay. Well, that's our last stop here on the tour de force, our 4 teams. Houston, out James Harden, which is a big piece, in Oladipo, Exum, who's hurt right now, Kurux, who slots in behind a handful of other big dudes, and then a bunch of picks. I don't care about the picks. That doesn't have anything to do with what we're doing on fantasy. That's them plotting for a future. By all accounts, they did okay here. They got Oladipo. They got a bunch of stuff. They probably would have wanted more. I mean, James Harden, one of the best scorers in the NBA, but at least they got something out of it. John Wall, Victor Oladipo, Christian Wood are definitely in the starting lineup for the Houston Rockets. Eric Gordon, starting shooting guard.
Yeah, I was going to say that might have been the lead story in this.
We buried it. We buried
it. It's my bad, because I had the sandwich. If I hadn't had the sandwich, we'd have been fine. But how do you turn a mole torta? Mole torta. How do you turn that down?
I ruined his sandwiches over here. So Eric Gordon's your guy because his usage goes way up.
It does. I mean, he's capable. You've seen the high-end performance at times. Obviously, the caveats are the injury risk. Can he even handle 30 minutes per game? But I think this team, like John Wall, when you've been humbled the way that John Wall's been humbled by injury and all the sort of the stuff, right? And DeMarcus Cousins, even, he's getting ejections and things like that. But like, I think these 2 players have a chip on their shoulder and something to prove, and they've played with each other in the past. And I think they're a little bit, well, we know that they're a lot ticked off about the way things have gone this season. I think Steven Silas is way past ready to move on. I think that, like you said, I'm waiting for you implied this. I'm waiting for the line to come out on this next game so we can
Rockets
all over it.
Give me all the Rockets. Give me every Rocket.
We're either going to win a lot or lose our house. I don't know which one.
I'm either got 2 apartments or none.
Exactly. And so, but what I see is a team that plays hard every night that might be a little bit more up tempo than they were, a lot more up tempo,
Yeah.
depending on how they go. So, like, Gordon is a guy that I think they will rely on to get a lot of buckets. But then downstream, I think you might see, like a David Nwaba make some late round noise in deeper leagues. I think Sterling Brown has been on like the bottom of my sleepers list forever, just because.
What about Danuel House?
I think Daniel.
I've heard it both ways. Their own broadcaster calls him Daniel, so that's how I'm going now.
Yeah, no, that he would know. Daniel will just be himself. Like, I'm not expecting like top 50 value. Maybe he sneaks into something like top 75, top 90, but probably top 100, 125 as a lock. I think you might see Ben McLemore reach up and be a late round guy based on 3-point shooting alone.
What about
Deshawn Tate is a guy that you should be looking at. He's played a little bit well. I don't want to go overboard here, but he's played a little bit well lately. And really, you're going to see this.
Are you talking about 12 teamers right now? Sorry to jump in. A little deeper,
14. But honestly, I want a guy like Tate because we just don't know, right? Like, I'm not saying go drop somebody good for him. I'm saying just look at it.
So this is really good for the guys that were in Houston before, right? Like, this is because Harden is everybody thinks that he's a fast tempo guy because of the D'Antoni stuff, but he does kind of slow things down. He works his way into the offense, ISO, pick and roll stuff. All of his stuff takes 10 to 14 seconds to get into. It's going to be a lot of running on that team now. Do you think that does anything for the front court too? Like, do they play bigger at times? Do they go smaller? How does this impact Christian Wood, Boogie, who's starting to ramp up a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, Boogie, he just can't handle right now more than like 24 minutes per game tops. But this is perfect. I mean, they'll look at, like, if Cousins gets hurt, they'll look at Wood, and then they probably are in the second string, third string center market as well. So this is going to be a fast team any way you slice it, because Cousins, even though Cousins is, lumbering up and down the floor, he's no stranger to grabbing the board and go. He definitely is going to look for John Wall every single time he can after he catches the ball. So I think you're right. There's going to be a pace increase. It's going to be a rising tide that lifts all boats. But when you look at the roster, like, there's going to be wear and tear at some point for some of these guys. PJ Tucker, I don't know off the top of my head. I want to say he's 34 years old. Like,
I thought he was going to get moved in this deal. It sounded like teams wanted Tucker, but he's behind. He's still
now, and you're kind of getting this. Another thing is, like, a guy like Tucker will probably not quite sure his contract situation off the top of my head, but I mean, if you're a contender looking for somebody to defend like a LeBron James or somebody that's big, like, Tucker's a guy you'd probably have some interest in. And there's going to be just a general erosion on this team of guys that, like, Gordon, Cousins, Wall, all these guys are injury risks. It's too bad Chris Clemens went out, because I was drafting him and stashing him in all these very deep leagues that, you go 250, 300, not 300 players deep, but like 250 players deep, grabbing him because he had shown well last year, and in the preseason, he's out for the year. So there's a point guard in their future probably as well. These guys there will be erosion, there will be injuries, and there's going to be players like the ones that we're mentioning, the Nwabas, the Sterling Browns, the Ben McLemores, the Deshawn Tates that are going to come in. One day down the road, you'll probably be talking about Bruno Caboclo. So that you can't plan for now. In a deep league, I would be looking at Deshawn Tate, though, and just sort of like, do I have an extra roster space? Can I take a flyer? And maybe you catch some luck with something like that. But Eric Gordon, he's going to be top 100.
So that's the guy. Okay, so quickly here, I haven't done any of this because I wanted to jump straight into everything. This is something we're trying that's a little bit new. We haven't done these instant feedback shows before. I think other than a little bit of audio stuff, the first 3 minutes, it's gone relatively well. So folks, if you like this, do subscribe to the Hoopball YouTube channel. I don't even know how you do it. That's not my number. There's a button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit a thumbs up on the thing. I think that makes other people see what's going on. This is my Twitter handle, and that is Aaron's Twitter handle. So please do follow us over there if you aren't already, at Dan Besbris, at Aaron Bruski. What I want to do here, as we sort of look into wrapping this thing up in the next, I would say 3 to 5 minutes, so hopefully everybody's enjoying the breakdown, is kind of lightning round back through things, because a lot of folks did join us during the second half. There's some funny comments coming up on the YouTube board there. So, Brew, we're going to go lightning round here on the teams before we wrap things up, because some people missed the first stuff. Brooklyn Nets is the new Nets. I'm a little bit higher on DeAndre Jordan than you are. I think he gets up to 25 minutes a game. I think he squeezes his way into the top 100. In 9-cat, 8-cat, not a chance, because he's going to have to grab like 12 rebounds a game at this point. I don't know how they function without him just camping out. He's not going to guard anyone. He's going to be doing the Tyson Chandler, I ain't leaving this circle. So if the rebound comes to me, I'm getting it. And if they come to the rim, I'm going to try to stop them. But you guys are responsible for the rest of this floor. But that's reality stuff. They're going to outscore people. You think Joe Harris survives this?
I do.
You think do you think Kyrie Irving plays again this year?
I mean, he can't do that without losing a ton of money.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'll say yes, but I kind of feel like there's another team in his future if he doesn't get on board with this. But
who's going to take? Well, whatever. That's a discussion for another day. I don't know how you take a contract like that with a guy who's just now vanished. Who am I missing in Brooklyn that we didn't discuss yet? Is there anyone else there that just basically? Someone asked I think you mentioned this the first thing we talked about. What would you give up to try to buy James Harden right now, and would you even consider selling him?
I would not consider selling. Because the Kyrie thing does not make sense from a basketball perspective one bit at all. Those two guys playing together. I know he's made it work with LeBron, but LeBron's a very pass first kind of player. And, even then it was a tenuous grip on him. So I'm very skeptical. And if that ends up panning out, he's number one spot.
Well, we finally the internet held on for so long, and then it glitched out here right at the very end.
I'll just say it again. He would be the one player.
It's kind of got the key moment.
I'm gonna mime it to you guys.
Yeah, the internet is trolling the listeners right now. It cuts off. Here's the whole sentence until he'll read the number.
If I owned a cat.
I am now hard lined in. I am using a Cat 5 cable that I've run through the entire apartment. So I can't take blame anymore. I absolve myself.
I'm blaming StreamYard.
Okay, we can blame. It's fine.
Somebody else
in the corner. They still got the branding they need. That's all that really matters here. So let's see if we can try that again. See if the internet's bouncing back. What would you trade James Harden for? What would you buy him for?
My first attempt here, and I'm gonna just kind of look at some names here as we do this. I would go high.
Oh my God.
I don't understand this.
I would go high, and then it cut out after the word high. I think people are going to start revolting.
Go high up in the sky.
Let's see if I can turn. Maybe I can turn your video off. Maybe that would do it. No, I don't think so.
That's the universe saying stop showing your face. Okay.
Let's see what we got here.
I'm off.
Maybe it's that. Maybe your computer doesn't want to take my video here. That's silly. Absolutely silly. Well, I wanted to do a lightning round of this stuff, but I got to make sure that we can get Brew in for it. So,
somebody like a Bam Adebayo, a Brandon Ingram, hey, you can hear me now. These players that are big buzzy names, but are sitting at the top of the third round that, you aren't going to get laughed out of the room for a deal. You might find yourself in the sort of pack of second round players that a Nikola Vucevic would be a great move, to try to I mean, you're basically you want to scream second round value, or like even maybe a little bit more. Like Miles Turner's a top 15 guy in 8 cat, so he's probably a little bit better in 9 cat. That while he's throwing up 8 block nights, or whatever his numbers are, like that could be something that moves the needle. A Paul George, who probably settles in at the back of the first round at best, second round probability. That would be a guy. I think there's a lot of targets here. Harden's currently at number 9 and 8 cat per game.
And that's while not trying.
Well, not trying and showing up fat and hilarious looking.
Dude, how much do his teammates hate him right now? They are not mincing words in Houston.
It's hilarious. And
wow.
I mean, he even looks like out of shape. Like it looks like he's really laboring out there and like kind of just like sweating all over the place. Like his jersey has like the circle of sweat and all of his teammates are completely clean. They got no sweat. It's not an optical illusion. Like it probably smells like, a stripper pole, like as he's playing.
Yeesh.
I know. But you know what? I just don't like the fact that he goes into this and he does this to his teammates. And he does this to his coach.
No,
he's fair game. I mean, and he's been, this way for a while. So,
yeah, Boogie and John Wall put him on blast, but there you go. I mean, we got it from a fantasy standpoint,
man. And we all get humbled in life, respond, clean it up, figure out why you're standing at the half court line in playoff games when you don't have the ball.
Yeah, that's brutal.
It's so brutal. I was watching Kyle Kuzma defend him last night as he stood at the half court line. And it was just hilarious because Kuzma's like, I got to keep turning my head, watching man, watching ball, watching man, watching ball. Like, I don't want to be completely embarrassed, but I know this guy's not moving.
He's not going anywhere.
Like, if I was Kyle Kuzma, I'd probably just go double or like I would not look at him at all. Because
the only thing they don't want to do is let him get the ball back. So all he has to do is guard a passing lane. One.
He was really struggling with it though, because it's not natural. You're not like, you don't practice to cover somebody at the half court line. Ever.
Right.
So I was like, props to Kyle Kuzma. It looks like you're playing a little defense. So
yeah, he's trying this year a little bit. Boy, Lakers woke up. Anyway,
when you get humbled, things happen,
Yeah.
You get better. You either get better or you don't. But like that's what's going on there. Kyrie, man, that is a fascinating.
Look at this fascinating. Trae Young. Would you give Trae Young for James Harden?
Yeah,
I would too.
I would. Trae Young's got that shooting wrist injury that these things don't go away sometimes.
Yeah, he's ranked in the 80s in 9. I know 9 cat is different, but I think there's a bit of a misconception about where Trae Young is so far this year, and it has not been very good.
And I actually picked against them. Did their game get canceled? I'm curious.
Yes, that game is that game.
Because I had Phoenix. I thought Phoenix -5 was the play there. His shooting wrist, for one, is an issue. And then 2, I think after you got 15 free throws a game, I think refs said, no, we're not doing this anymore. And I think teams were like, no, we're not doing this anymore. And then he gets that with the internal stuff. He takes a lot of bad shots. And, John Collins is right for calling him out. And the way that Sam Amick wrote that column, you could tell how people think about people based on how these things get written.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a rebuttal of what John Collins was doing in those meetings, calling him out. So I think he's having a little come to Jesus with his teammates, and they got a lot of good players, even with the injuries that they're facing right now. So yeah, in short, I would do the deal just because Trae's never going to get to number 1. Right. Harden with Durant can still get to number 1. And then that's another thing we haven't touched on. Durant looked like a beast. He's been looking like a beast whenever he's on the floor. If those 3 are together, then yeah, he's coming back as well.
All right, quickie version. Harden or Luka rest of the year?
Harden.
Harden or Paul George the rest of the year?
Harden.
And I assume Harden over Tatum. If you picked him over the other 2 guys, I'm guessing you pick him over Tatum also.
Yeah, I mean, Tatum has this nice floor that you're, like with Luka, he's playing through an ankle thing that's been there for a long time. His free throw shooting could sink him at any given moment. With Tatum, you just know what you're getting. You might say, I'm going to not deal with the risk stuff, and I'll just keep my Tatum, but it would still be Harden is the answer.
Someone did say they want to see you, Aaron Bruski, but I need to warn them. The last time we did that, the audio went out. So we're going to do it as long as we can here. Quick wrap up again. That's the Brooklyn side. Cleveland, Jared Allen, rest of season, where do you see him? We're going quickie style so we can get everybody back to their day.
57.
All right, fair enough. And you are not adding Taurean Prince?
No.
Okay. Indy,
in a 14 team, yes, but for a 12 teamer, no.
Okay. And then Houston, big up on Aaron Gordon. And then does anything else change a ton there, or just sort of increase everybody else?
Yeah, just raise the level on all of these guys that could be, if you're in a 14-team league, you start taking a flyer on some of them. If you're 16, then these guys are all ads, all of them.
Sweetness.
And it's Eric Gordon.
Yeah. Okay, thanks everybody. That's the breakdown. That's our not that quick breakdown of the James Harden and Victor Oladipo trades after Aaron got his sandwich. We're good to go. Again, the Twitter handle's right there on your screen. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We did get 1 thumbs down. I'm guessing that's because we kept trolling people with your James Harden analysis that disappeared every time we were trying to put it into the internet space. If anything else crazy happens, we'll try to do something like this again. This was, I think, a pretty good test balloon to float out there. Brew, have a great day.
I will. You do the same. Bye, everybody.
Later, everybody. This is the Hoopball presentation. Hoopball Fantasy is the Twitter handle there. Hoop-ball.com. We'll see you later, everybody.
Peace.